Next out we have the Challengers Canada Open. Good luck to both teams. Time will start on the opening call.
Welcome back to ULTI.TV at the London Invite. Final game of the weekend. We are in the Open Division, and for the third time, this has a very familiar feeling about it now. Canada against Great Britain. Benji Reese in the booth for one last showdown, and join me, someone with split loyalties perhaps, Becky Thompson.
Definitely a few split loyalties. Just finished playing my own game, so I'm a little bit out of breath, but ready to go for this one. From Canada, so I know a lot of these guys, but obviously play here for Team GB, so really excited to see what this matchup will have for us. Yeah,
when these two sides played on the Friday evening as like a little pre-warm-up showcase, it was not close. 15-4 final score, and I think people were very down on Canada's chances this weekend, but I think you could tell that the intensity wasn't quite there, and even before the first pool yesterday, they seemed like a totally different beast, and they came back with a big win, 14-10 I think in the end, final scoreline yesterday. So I wonder if now GB, I think, will be fully aware of how intense this Canadian outfit is going to be.
Yeah, I think they spent quite a tough period of time where you're away from home for the week between Windmill and coming to this tournament, which can make it really challenging to be settled. So I think that game on Friday maybe helped get their legs underneath them. And now we're going to see what is really two teams battling for medals at the World Championships later this year.
What, you mean they didn't fly home and then fly back out again?
Exactly, although they did get a few new additions who weren't at Windmill with them, so adding a couple new faces into the squad as well.
And they had a pretty good Windmill as well, making it to the semi-finals there in an eventual fourth-placed finish. Mead fields the pull on the full at the back of his own end zone, and we are underway. Initiating out of a side stack on this near side. Canadians covering it well, though. Now Mead pulling the trigger, looking for East. You see him try and slow down a little bit early, and maybe then over-ambitious on his point of catch. Canada looking for an early break. Bryson, who will be such a key cog of this D-line engine. Sang. Wanting the break around and finding it. Bryson again, back to Sang. With a little dish off. Keeping it short for now. Knapp, the face will be all too familiar for GB, even before this weekend, of course. Having spent time in London playing with Clapham Lossies. Knapp lays out and keeps alive. Sun beginning to come out now. Even the weather knows that it's finals time. Down the line. Tried to toe the line and expertly pulled off by Christopher Tremblay-Yoncas. it's a break on the game's first point for Canada and a 1-0 lead.
And that's one of those players that we mentioned wasn't in Windmill with this Canadian team last weekend, clearly integrating very well into the squad, and fancy footwork there at the front cone of the end zone. Canada really impressive here, just showing a lot of patience on the disc in the red zone. Always a bit challenging when you want to score that break, and just biding their time to get this beautiful little bit of footwork to get the goal.
Yeah, just a little bit nifty there in the closing stages where the margins are fine, and you know, sometimes it is just having that field awareness and knowing exactly where you are. Just a little toe tap there. Excellent chopping of his feet there from Tremblay Yoncas.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how GB responds. Obviously 1-1 on the weekend, going into game 3 of the series today. And I think GB will have no problems coming out strong here after being broken on the first point.
And this is much more like the Canada we saw yesterday than the Canada we saw on Friday. They are louder on the sidelines. They've got that kind of more vocal presence about them.
Yeah, I think they're enjoying the weather conditions here at London Invite compared to Windmill last weekend as well.
Wasn't brilliant.
You can hear them probably in the background singing some songs as well. I think they've got the team vibes really going here.
Yeah, now they're in, you know, proper tournament play. There is certainly more intensity about them. That pull sailing out of bounds. Abrams will go over and pick up. Looks like he's going to bring it to the brick mark to begin. 2-5 vertical set here. Mead in the handling space with Abrams. McHale setting the front of that stack with Yo, Cameron, Haynes and Ford, but already they're spreading out early. Ford in a little pocket here. As Mead forced backwards to Abrams, continuing the swing around to Haynes. With their sweatbands that I'm sure were once a vivid neon and are a bit more faded now. The bid might be there. Oh, it's tipped up. Callahan, surely. No, not quite.
Incredible defensive effort there from the Canadians, nearly with a layout Callahan here on the second point of the game. You see a replay of this. It just sails a little bit too far in front of him, but what an incredible first effort.
Yeah, you can tell the intensity and physicality of Canada's defense is troubling Great Britain. Picking up and looking for the quick flip. Not seeing it immediately, but Bryson gets free in a phone booth. It's another Canada break and a 2-0 lead.
Again, it's a little bit of just neat footwork at the front of the end zone, happy to get themselves into small spaces and just seal out their defender by getting in front. Canada on that point really did a good job of pushing the GB team under. They were on the back shoulder, protecting the deep space, and that led in the end to a lot of pressure and not a lot of options.
Reports of Canada's demise apparently greatly exaggerated, because they have started this game like they started the last game, and they clearly mean business. Not that you'd expect anything else from TC when the going gets tough. Great Britain, their semi-final against Belgium, I must admit, I think a lot more excited than all of us expected. 15-7 final, much tighter for Canada, 12-10 over the Barbarians, and then a huge slap of the hand in there from Raphael Lalonde-Landry, utilising the wingspan impeccably.
Yeah, great start here from Canada, and Benji, only their third weekend together as a team. They've had one training camp before this, and then Windmill last weekend, London Invite this weekend. So maybe I think we're really starting to see them come together, build that chemistry, and even the team vibes and intensity here today. And clearly that has started very well for them, and GB will now need to respond. Yeah,
this is GB Open's first tournament this calendar year since EUC in sunny Limerick last summer. It wasn't. There were times when it was sunny, all right. Let me off. Hillman catching the pull. And then to Abrams. GB sticking with their O-line stars. Ford, oh, the swing to Abrams to turf. This game is getting away from GB in a hurry.
Looks like an injury call there for Abrams.
Yeah, maybe.
Just hitting the ground a little bit hard on that layout.
Yeah, the artificial surface can be a little bit unforgiving at times. Doesn't quite have that cushion that a natural grass can have.
But that turn really down to the pressure that Canada is putting on the reset, taking away the upfield options, forcing them into the backfield, and then making it a difficult throw.
One in the leading throw to the break side. Instead, Bedard goes to Stonehouse, who returns. The two of them playing a little bit of smooth jazz in the backfield for now, improvising between one another before Stonehouse tries to become a nuisance downfield. Looking towards the open side, Ford read that one all the way and stepped across nice and early.
And that's the kind of intensity that GB are going to bring to this game. We haven't seen it yet, but this is exactly what they're known for. They get the disc back. When they lose it, they're always going to come down with a block.
Mikhail with the high release toss to Yo down the far sideline, faking the more ambitious option, even though in the over a decade I've known him, I don't think I've ever seen him throw it. One day it'll happen. Maybe. Cartwright to Hillman and now Cameron. Back to Hillman. East pumping down the far sideline. Stoppage. Hillman in discussion there with Quinn Wilson.
It's been quite a battle between those two already, both fighting for that space. Maybe a little bit of incidental contact there. You can see they both maybe thought that they had the right to the space, but both fighting to get free.
Yeah, I think both sides known for playing with that physical edge. Knowing look to camera. I think sometimes both sides are guilty of maybe overstepping that mark. Check back in. The throw was a little bit behind that narrow window and East can't slide it in to the Canadian Cameron. Knapp looking to go up the line. Yo won't let him free. Again, pressure really ratcheting up, knifing it straight into the end zone, and it works. I'm always telling teams they should try that. Knapp on the receiving end, Canada 3, GB 0.
I mean, if you're gonna go for a late stall count option, that might have been the perfect throw. Absolutely pinpoint into the receiver, into Hugh Knapp's hands. No option for Yo to make a play. That was really spectacular.
Again, on the replay, I mean, there really isn't a lot of places that he can go with this. Now, East refusing to give up that position, stall count rising, just get it out however you can. And Yo, grimace on his face, not quite sure how Bedard fitted it in there, but he did. And it's 3-0 to Canada, who must be loving life right now. No surprise to see Great Britain call the timeout.
Yeah, absolutely. Great Britain now will probably look to just readjust, reset, essentially start this game over at this point. It's 0-0. You play a game to one, take it 1 point at a time, stop the bleeding, and get yourself back on the board. We haven't had a chance to see the Great Britain D-line out there yet, so they'll want to get this point in and get them on a roll of their own to really test Canada. But I think GB, they're good at being in these adverse situations, and they should have no problem regrouping here.
Canada racing out of the traps, got a 3-wheel lead early here in the Open final at London Invite.
We are Hive Ultimate, a group of players and coaches from all over the world working together to progress the next generation of Ultimate strategy. We've helped top teams win world championships and new teams introduce the sport in a fun and inclusive way. Search for Hive Ultimate on YouTube to learn more about our cutting-edge strategies and to see analysis of world-class teams. To find out what Hive can do for your team, head over to our Patreon page where you can gain access to our exclusive drills and session plans and to join our worldwide community of coaches. Get ahead of the curve with Hive Ultimate.
Enjoying the show? Show your support for the live stream and the people making the show. Buy a super chat or super sticker on YouTube directly. Select your donation and type your message to the world. And share. all donations go into directly funding new shows. Buy a super sticker or super chat now. Thank you.
Canada 3, Great Britain 0 here. 3 breaks right off the bat for the Maple Leaf.
Yeah, Canada really starting with a lot of pressure and intensity. They've done a really good job, Benji, of disconnecting the Great Britain cutters from the handlers, making it really hard for them to complete passes upfield. They're having to go for resets in tight spaces, and that's forced a few turnovers. But GB back out again now after a timeout and looking to punch in their first hold of the game.
I mean, look, 3-0's not a huge margin necessarily when you're playing to 15. Heck, the Oilers were 3-0 down in the Stanley Cup Finals, and they're going to a Game 7.
Yeah, they often say that 3-0 is the most dangerous lead to have. As a team, you can get a little bit comfortable.
Wrong, by the way.
Absolutely not wrong.
So wrong. I'm pretty sure that 14-13 is a lot more dangerous than 3-0.
But you get a bit comfortable when you go up on a roll on a D break. You can get a bit comfortable, and at this point, GB just need to get their own D line out for their own roll.
Yeah, I understand the philosophy. I just vehemently disagree with it. Orcock on the far side. GB running this hybrid and down the line to McHale. He's got the shot, lasers that one. A frozen rope to Brooking for the score. That was much more like it.
And this is exactly what we come to expect from this GB side. Picture perfect throws to a wide open receiver deep. In the first few points, Canada had managed to disconnect them from those options, and GB just coming out of that timeout and saying, you know what, that's exactly how we want to play, so we are still going to make those passes.
Yeah, getting the up line to McHale. The force isn't set, so he's got all the time to step into this one and just drives it down that far side of the field to Brooking.
Brooking, a new addition to this team, wasn't on the team last year for the Euros cycle, but making the team this year to head to the World Championships, and has made quite the impact so far for his first year on a GB team.
Yeah, he's a most welcome addition for a GB side that has a lot of carryover from last year, but of course, you know, preparing for a campaign in Limerick is one thing, but Australia is, you know, the other side of the world, so it's, you know, A, it is a lot more expensive, let's not pretend that it isn't, and B, it's also a lot further away, so you can't just, you know, take a week out and go back at work, right? You've got to take out a few days either side, you know. For a side like GB that has medal hopes, they probably want to really acclimatise themselves out there, and some people don't have the ability necessarily to make that trip all the way over.
Yeah, a bit of turnover in the GB squad because of that, but I think that's to be expected. Still a ton of talent on this pitch right now.
No doubt. Hall pulls. Plenty of hang time. It's Brissett Fields seeing Canada's O-line for the first time. I wonder if there's a danger of them coming out a little bit cold. Auger Simard. Into Brissett. Goes back to Auger Simard. GB looking for this zone to try and just slow the Canadians down. Past the bidding defender. Had his eyes on the red zone turn. Cam Harris. Gordon trying to trap him on that sideline. Taking the reset instead to Bedard. Brissett. Auger Simard's going to go. Wilson's trailing him in coverage. And a little bit of showboating before the crab catch for the goal.
Yeah, dangerous move there to stick your arms out to celebrate before catching it. You always look a bit silly if you drop that. But that being said, Auger Simard there in just acres of space to catch that disc.
Nothing against Malik Auger Simard, but every time anyone does that, there's a massive part of me that wants them to drop it. It's just like the Schadenfreude is too rich to resist. Brilliant shot though, getting the one-on-one, just a step or two on Wilson, but Auger Simard, you see him really burn away at the end.
Yeah, one of the Team Canada World Games players there, showing exactly what he's made of. Just outrunning his defender into the space, making it look quite easy, Benji.
Well, good players, they do that, don't they? They do make it look easy.
Yeah, and Canada back out on defense now. Be interesting to see if we get a few trades or if we get GB's D-line back out for a break of their own. But this game, I think, still absolutely wide open.
Yeah, there's still so much time left. Cap coming on at 70 minutes and just over 15 minutes in, so lots of game left. 4-1 at the moment, Canada with the early advantage. I think, given the way they went down on Friday, you do have to give a lot of credit to the Canadian coaching staff about, you know, rallying them back up and getting them ready to go for the weekend. That pull, debate about whether it landed in bounds or not. I must admit I did not have an angle at it from here. If it lands on the line, that is not in, remember, of course. The line is considered out, as anyone who's tried to tow it will know. I mean, Hillman's the closest player to it, so you feel like if anyone would know whether it was in or out, it would be him. And he didn't seem sure, which...
Yeah, I have to say that was an impossible angle even for us with the replay there. Can't tell which edge of the disc hit first. Maybe if that inside edge managed to land in the pitch, or if it hit the line first.
My understanding is if there's no agreement about whether it's a brick or not, you take it to the front of the end zone and play it from there.
And that looks like what we're going to get here.
Score 1 for plus rules knowledge and use to the booth. Oh my word, a dangerous floater. And Mackenzie just has to stand there and collect the Callahan. We'll scarcely have an easier one.
They were hunting for it a couple points ago, Benji, looking for that Callahan, and they've gone and done it this time. You see them celebrate there. They've got, oh, it looks like a stuffed beaver that they're throwing into the air. Very Canadian of them, but just putting so much pressure on this force. You can see they have a bit of a line trap going on, switching off on the reset, and they just managed to sandwich the receiver, Mike McKenzie, just waiting for that disc to come into his hand.
Yeah, that on Landry forces Ford to go up early. It's over his head and just stands there and watches the disc drift right into his outstretched hand.
I think that's exactly what Canada will want with those pulls. Get them down in that corner. We have a bit of a crosswind right now coming from your screen towards the stands. So when you're stuck in that corner, if you're breaking the mark there, that's exactly where the disc is going to pop up into the air.
With the exception of the one goal they've scored, GB have really struggled to get anything going offensively, which will be a major worry, let's be honest. The wind is beginning to pick up a little bit as well, which will affect some of these throws.
And the windy conditions on Friday definitely benefited this GB side, handled the blustery conditions then. So it'll be interesting to see how much of an effect this could have on the game.
Yeah, they were so much more comfortable with it than Canada were, although it has to be said that, you know, a lot of those swill throws did seem to fall into GB's hands, and they got their own slice of luck with them.
This pull out of bounds, however.
He's got to be sideline here.
Meadle bringing in about 2/3 of the way down the field. Knapp will apply the force. Mead immediately hammering over the top, finds Yo on the far side. Pass the bidding defender, is it? Well, he came up with it. Haynes seems sure that he had it. And it looks like that Devon Bringeland-Powell is going to agree.
But again, that's just the defensive intensity, Canada building that pressure still.
Haynes back to McHale. Mead's trying to scuttle his way free, and enough pressure applied on the force, and McHale's throw flutters away.
Wilkie Lulis putting on a big force there on McHale.
Spreading it across Crew. Lewis, having got the block on the force. Stretching it wide again, Crew. To Knapp. Such a crisp distributor. Passing off the peel, and then trying to see maybe if they could flip that matchup back. Instead, the swing is low, and Funk thought about the quick pickup, but they are just going to take an extra second to get themselves set. McHale brings in and finds Mead. Mead could have taken the open one to Cartwright. Instead, now McHale. Trying not to get themselves trapped onto the line. Delicious inside break from Mead to Yo, and he punches into Josh East for the score.
I think GB will be very relieved to get that point. A little bit of luck there with that disc dropping low in the reset space, but GB making no mistakes on their second effort there, working it up the pitch and breaking open the space with that break throw from Mead as well to Yo.
Yeah, this is the key pass here. There's a huge open space and Mead stepping forward a little bit to access that angle. And then Yo just has to continue the break side flow.
That's so hard as a defender to guard that inside space as well. It's a perfect throw from Mead to break it open, and like you said, it just gives them so much space in the end zone to complete that pass, and they'll be very relieved to have that goal.
Yeah, you could argue it's a successful D point though for Canada, because they did get the disc off Great Britain's O-line, even if they could not convert.
Canada will be very happy with that. Canada actually playing with 3 even lines here, Benji, rotating through because it's early season here for them, their 3rd training camp. So not having set O and D lines, meaning that they're all getting lots of reps out on the pitch here and maybe making it a little bit difficult for GB to game plan around it as well.
Canada starting on offense once more. Again, solid pull to start. The vet Underhill to Bedard.
GB coming down with a bit of a zone look now, something different to try to stifle this Canadian offense.
Brissett inside. Ian McKenzie's going to take off deep. Instead going, oh, the tip from Auger Samar, and Quinn Snyder comes up with it.
How many times have we seen Quinn Snyder make plays like that?
And floating towards the end zone, it rises, but Brissett still has time to bring it down. Canadian rode their luck a little bit there, but they made themselves the favourites to collect the second effort grab.
That was a very heads-up play there from Snyder to be able to see that that disc has ricocheted off the hands of Malik Auger Samar and then able to reel it in. Get a good replay of it now.
I wonder if maybe that was tipped ever so slightly by Gordon Studs. Auger Samar just tipping it around the corner, and Snyder, all that Mac line practice they must do coming in handy. Even though I'm pretty sure he would have preferred a less loft on this final throw, but Brissett was equal to it. (6-2) Canada on top. Just under 25 minutes on the clock. And we know the clock is accurate because they started it on first pull, as did we. So if we get disconnected somehow, well, yeah, I'll be asking some questions of someone. Not us, we would never get it wrong.
Canada chanting out here, clearly enjoying the atmosphere, enjoying this. It looked like they're having a lot of fun. GB needing to get another hold here of their own.
Yeah, every game, well, not every game, but the overwhelming majority of the games have wrapped up now here at the Grasshoppers Rugby Club. So there is a lively contingent in the stands enjoying the festivities.
Another great pull there from Canada. That one just rolling out the back of the end zone, so they will bring it up to the front.
But the Canada defense has, shown their hand as they get ready, and that'll give GB a chance to adjust their positioning.
Looks like Canada, again, maybe discussing a bit of a line trap here. You can see them pointing on the field. They're talking a lot about sharing the spaces between each other, trying to get in the middle there to clog the space.
Rakes that throw across to Mead, and now forward, bounces it back off Cartwright. Cartwright to Mead. Hillman started going and then slowed up quite early. They're deciding that turnover stands.
Canadians used to different pick rules under USAU rules in North America, of course, with World Championships. Normally that could have come back, but it looks like a retracted pick call.
Yeah, I think they were saying that did it really affect, the throw was good, and was Hillman going to get there? Probably not. Funk will try and burrow underneath, and he catches in front of McLeod. Now East. Centering. GV offense is looking a little bit more rhythmic. Funk. It's almost his signature throw, really, isn't it? Feathering that high release flick into space. Hillman to Yo for 6-3.
GB again turning the disc on that point, but once they get that second opportunity, being much more clinical, valuing the disc and working it up the pitch. Nice, easy options here, around into space to Funk, who's got tons of time to see the options in front of him. And like you said, looks for that little inside high release flick that just gives them a free pass into the goal.
Yeah, it's Cartwright in the end on the score. Tom Cartwright, I should of course specify, because both Tom and Deck on this GB Open roster.
So we'll get a chance to see the GB D-line back out here. Still looking to really get the disc off of the Canadians.
Yeah, if I delve down into the stats, Canada's O-line has turned it over once. And as you will have no doubt worked out by the fact that they've not been broken, they were able to get it back. Nathan Ragg trying to get the energy up from the sidelines. McHale going for the roller pull. Ian McKenzie can't quite stop it. And GB, as you might imagine, seeing if they can trap on the sidelines, they allow the first pass back to Underhill. There's a wide swing available if they want it to go on. Snyder back central, Bedard. Really thought that was going to go. Instead, Gallant's wide open. How?
It's like a bit of blown coverage there as GB was in their zone and maybe trying to transition. Miscommunication on who was picking up Gallant there.
That's far too easy for Canada, but I mean, that's really heads up from Gallant, because that wide swing they were allowing him, and then he realised, does anyone actually realise that I'm here? And he busts it deep. And to Canada's credit as well, they realise that. They don't overthrow him, they're not over-ambitious with the shot, they just lead him into that space because they trust, look, there's no point overthrowing this, trying to get everything. We can just make sure it's a nice, comfortable catch, bounce it around outside, and in the end, he's going to throw it to Underhill for the goal. I think the GB will have to look at that one again on the replay and work out. Yeah, okay, that was, I mean, it doesn't matter whose it was, it's got to be someone's responsibility. Because it wasn't mine.
That was too Marty, because I went to throw it to his team, and at the last moment, so I saw
Canada again will look to see if they can find a way to accentuate this lead going into half. Currently 7-3 to the good. All right, I appreciate the shout out to the Tesco meal deal. Truly men of culture, the Canadians.
Definitely enjoying themselves out here today, Benji.
But this is why you come on these international trips. Right, exactly. As well as, yes, you get time out on the field against top quality opposition, but they also are a big bonding experience, and that is invaluable. It's all very well having the players, but if you're not a proper cohesive unit, it doesn't necessarily matter that much. Ford on the sideline. Abrams is charging deep. Ford doesn't want it though. East. Threatening the break. Bryson bids. Mead is indicating that he had it.
Get a replay of this here. East looking into the backfield.
I mean,
impossible to tell from that angle.
I mean, we can replay it even slower if you want, but I don't think it's going to become any clearer. Not from the angle we had.
It's incredibly close, that's for sure.
You've just got no angle on it, I'm afraid. Technology can only do so much. the contest, I think, is a very sensible resolution. Because
impossible to know.
We've got slow-mo replay, right, and we were none the wiser. Sometimes it genuinely is too close to call.
But again, testament to the pressure that the Canadians are building here. That's a couple bids now where the disc has stayed in the hands of GB, but Canada is a matter of centimeters away. And again, Bryson getting a touch on that one.
Yeah, he is doing a great job of locking down Mead. Abrams into space for Hillman. Might come to Mead. No, instead. Ford down the line. Travel call by Sang. Ford sets himself and then gets off the line to Hillman. Swinging to Haynes. GB continuing to send cutters deep even if the disc isn't going. Might go now though. Ford on the under to East for the score. Found a great time to hit that one in rhythm rather than maybe just forcing it from the standstill.
Yeah, that's the flow that GB want to generate there. They're working hard to clear the handlers out of the open side and bring cutters back into that space and look to get someone like Justin Ford in the middle of the pitch in a power position, and East so much speed on him as well, able to go track that disc down. You see the inside shot comes, it just opens up that break side throw. Easy, great touch on it, easy goal.
Yeah, nice work from Haynes, hitting that window. Didn't laser the throw in there, but knew that he couldn't float it necessarily. And Ford catching, getting his hand set, and stepping into that one to East. (7-4). Canada still in a very good position, but the job is not done yet. And I'm pretty sure TC know that.
Yeah, absolutely. Canada, as have GB, been in many situations where they've played tight competitive matches against the best teams in the world, and they will know that these games are a matter of swings and momentum and emotions, and anything can change at any moment.
Underhill to Bedard. GB again rotating through their various defences, trying to find something that'll get the Canadians off platform. I'm pretty sure that's going to be an accepted foul. Indeed it is. We'll come back in on one.
GB finding some pressure of their own, ramping up the intensity on this point.
Underhill. There's a potential deep look available there. Blading over Modiano's head into Gallant's path. Excellent work by James Lewis, utilising the wind to his advantage. Canada will have an 8-4 half-time lead.
The touch on that throw as well with the crosswind, that is a difficult one to execute. It can easily get picked up, sail over the head of your receiver. But Lewis there just putting a lot of love on that disc. Sees Gallant going, same third huck, and just puts it in a space where the defender has absolutely no play on it.
Yeah, it was Gallant's disc or it was no one's disc, and Gallant read it as well. He knew that it was going to fade towards that far sideline and didn't have to over-exert himself, collecting the reception from James Lewis for the goal. A superb first half from the Canadians. Just came out with intensity Great Britain couldn't match, and that is why they've earned themselves this, I wouldn't say enormous advantage, but it's sizable, it's significant at the very least.
Absolutely, and Canada will be very happy with this going into the half. They'll know that they have the momentum on their side. They know that they can continue to do exactly what they've been doing, which is generating a ton of pressure, disconnecting GB's handlers and cutters, and then being very clinical on the turn as well, whereas GB now might need to look to adjust a few things and really at the end of the day just find a bit of intensity of their own. They need to generate some blocks off the Canadians here.
Time to have a breather. Great Britain have got some soul searching to do. Can they find the comeback? We'll find out when the open final here at London Invite returns.
Always on the move? You can keep up to date with ULTI.TV on all of our social media channels. Like, follow, subscribe, share us with a friend, or send us a message just to say hey. Thank you for supporting us in our mission to grow Ultimate everywhere.
Those who do not know their history can never relive it. The skies, the dives, the sideline smiles. Our past is held in photo albums, drinking stories. The present is a gift. And here at ULTI.TV, we want to make sure we always appreciate it, capturing the immortal moments of Ultimate from around the world and making sure everyone can enjoy them for free, forever. Because the future belongs to all of us.
Canada up 8-4 on GB Open. Open final action from what has been a wonderful weekend in the sun at London Invite. There's the match stats for you at half-time. GB's D-line has only got the disc once, so they couldn't do anything with it. Canada 4 for 7 on break chances. It's pretty good going.
Yeah, Canada just very clinical here in the first half of the game. GB needing to find a way to generate a little bit more of pressure on Canada. Maybe try something different in this second half. I think the Canadians will be very happy with how this game has started, Benji.
It feels like GB have tried a fair few zone looks, and neither of them has really proved particularly effective. It wouldn't surprise me if they transitioned to going back into one-on-one defense, and maybe with a more pointed emphasis from rather than just, okay, we're doing this and we're, taking down, maybe those unders a little bit more, but GB instead continuing to junk things up. Brissett to Bedard. Bedard, so much air underneath it. Hall might fancy his chances, and Hall does enough. Well in, Woody.
A good block there for GB, forcing a difficult option and finally getting a block and going straight back the other way.
Modiano absolutely jacking it. Bignall rises above Gallant into the end zone. Too far. That was the moment for GB, and despite Brooking's best efforts, it goes unrewarded.
Brooking was maybe just stopping his movement there as Bignall went to throw that disc. You see that all too often where you do something amazing and then immediately turn over the disc. It's so hard to take a breath in those situations.
That would have been the flip of the script that GB needed, but Canada get away with it. And to be honest, in that position, that is getting away with it. Brissett jacking it into the lane. Wilson with a big block, heads up. Modiano catches the seconds just to make sure. Bignall to Brooking connects this time. Could do with a little bit more handler support. Barges into Hall, that's going to go back on a pick. I can guarantee you that.
See nobody else celebrating when that disc went into the air.
Everyone knew. I'll be honest, Rag probably knew as well, but you got to catch to make sure.
Absolutely. Just as we were talking about GB needing to generate intensity and blocks, 2 blocks on this point, 2 opportunities on the doorstep here of the goal line for a break, really could change the game.
Brooking to Hall. Hall with the low release on the backhand to Brooking. See that he does want to get into the centre. Hall cleared through, and there was no one on the reset. This might go instantly. Wise holster, though, from Underhill. Given that it's been those deep looks that have caused trouble Canada on this point. The first blocked deep by Hall, and the second, Wilson jumping the lane. Bedard to Auger Samar. Now Underhill to Snyder. Underhill once more. Canada dumping, swinging, going through the fundamentals. Happy to play boring after they got ahead of themselves on the last 2 possessions. Brissett to Auger Samar for the score. And GB shirts overhead, 2 glorious opportunities, and this is what plagued them in the last matchup between these 2 sides yesterday evening. Was GB's D-line got chances and they were nowhere near sharp enough with them. They looked like they tightened that up against Belgium, but it's come back to bite them again here.
Yeah, GB I think will be frustrated and want that opportunity back. It's so hard to come out at the start of the second half on defense, and 2 opportunities on the doorstep to break. And like you said, Canada on their 3rd time of asking, just more clinical, took the safe option, worked it around the back, and then into OJ Samar for the hold.
Yeah, 8-5 feels very different from 9-4 does now. But I think GB know we've got ourselves into a good position here. You know, we're getting turns, and it feels like the D-line offense should be a lot easier to clean up because you could tell what was going wrong there. Just the first time it's a throwing error, like it happens. Maybe, you know, Brooking stopping because he's expecting Bignell just to holster it there, and Bignell thinking, well, Brooking's obviously going to go. Sometimes those happen. The second turnover was a bit more of, okay, we're not getting into our systems, our patterns well enough. And if we can spot that, we can stop that.
Still progress for the GBD line there. Now with 3 times that they've got the disc off Canada, so they should still be happy that they're managing to generate those turns.
East to Abrams. Ford on the far side. Slips it through to Abrams. Ford wanting it again. Abrams just putting it out to space. Ford hustles underneath it, just begins to show the hammer, but I don't think it was ever really going to go. Pushes it down the line to Hillman, immediately getting it off. GB just trying to move it with a bit more urgency, perhaps. Scoobering over the far side. Now from Cameron to Cartwright. Rising, but mercifully, Cameron's a big man. Now East. Getting himself back on the line. McHale over the top. No, that was not the one. I don't think it needed to go. They weren't necessarily advancing too rapidly, but they didn't need to because they were working it around.
See Canada with a quick start after the turnover as well, trying to catch GB's offense off guard.
And Canada working at a pace here. Lalonde Landry. Going back, breaking around, down the sideline, in stride for the score. Vince Bullock makes it 10-4.
Be so punishing to an offensive line when you start moving the disc quickly after the turn. They're not fully set yet, and they looked there like they were constantly just chasing, trying to catch up to the Canadians there, who ran away with it all the way into the end zone.
I mean, Canada, once they got off and running, GB never really stopped them. I mean, there is no one in the same postcode as Bullock. And the freedom of the end zone, all that needed to happen was the Esh to take it back in bounds, and that's exactly what they got. Canada's defense there, almost bend but don't break right. They advance it into the red zone, but we will not let them find the scoring pass. We will bore it out of them. And they work the turn and get it quickly afterwards. Second block of the game for Raphael Lalonde Landry.
Canada now with a 6-point lead here in the final over GB. 45 minutes gone, so still time here for GB to turn it around, but they're going to need to find some points soon.
Yeah, it feels like a side of Canada's quality will, probably not let this one go, but GB can't accept the defeat, can they? And Canada quite rightly loving life right now. Why wouldn't you be? They are getting almost obnoxious on the sideline, and it's, you know, nothing rude, but again, you know, a loud sideline is a big presence. Cameron shooting, looking for Abrams. That's more like it.
You could see Abrams stick his hand out into the air to call for that disc quite early on Cameron took an extra second just to allow for him to be very deep, very free, win that throw, win up. And that, again, is much better execution from GB, hitting the nice inside shot to Cameron, surveys his options, and pretty quickly able to see that deep shot was wide open to Abrams. Defenders constantly trailing him there, and I think GB will be a lot happier with that one.
It feels like we haven't really seen Cameron have that role in this offense this weekend. He's been more kind of on the receiving end than catching it underneath and distributing them himself, but he's more than capable, as he proved.
Yeah, he's got a great throw on him. 1 assist there for Cameron today. And GB, another chance to go out here on D and maybe generate a break roll of their own.
Well, they're going to need to if they want to come back. Mikhail's come over to the D-line to pull here.
Down there, boys! Down there now! Drink!
Watching this pull, fielded on the full in the end zone. Great Britain again going into their defensive playbook and trying to get the Canadians out of rhythm. Brissett taking the swings if that's what's offered. Oh, Underhill slipped. He did so well just to get a hand on it. The turf monster wins in the end. Warnock hustles towards the disc to pick up. GB trying to push the tempo. Let's go from Andante to Allegro. Mikhail lacking support in the handler space, taking the timeout.
Yeah, Mikhail, you could see there from our angle as well, he looked at field, didn't really have any options, and at that point, GB know that they need to get this break on the board, so I like that timeout call in that situation. You get a chance to reset your stack, but on the flip side, you also give a chance to Canada to set up something different here on defense too.
It's just frustrating for Great Britain that it's a problem that's bit their D-line a couple of times, is that there's no support in the backfield, and whoever's got the disc is just isolated. See Underhill desperately trying to recover. I think if he catches it, he's in bounds.
Yeah, absolutely. That was quite an unbelievable effort there from Underhill.
Obviously, it's all for naught because he couldn't quite catch it, but I mean, again, you know, people fall over, it happens, especially, you know, there's a reason teams talk of the turf monster, right? Because it feels like perhaps you do lose your footing a little bit more easily on these artificial surfaces, which is part and parcel of, comes with playing them, right? It can happen to either side at any moment. But if Canada give you that freebie, the position they're in, GB have to take advantage.
It's really interesting to see how the Canadians set up here on defense now out of this timeout, whether they try to bracket the stack, clog the space. They've got maybe 4 seconds of hard defense here. That disc was already at 6 or 7 on the stall count when Mikhail took that timeout, so he'll be looking to reset it quite quickly. Maybe even a hammer option or a scooper into the end zone, and Canada only need a few seconds of hard defense here.
I mean, we saw what Canada did when we were in this jam. Just knife it into the end zone, mate, it'll work. Somehow I doubt that's the plan. Going to have Modiano behind as a reset, it seems. Not quite 45 degrees back, maybe 30 or so. Warnock towards the far side. There's a clear intention here. We're not going to cloud this open lane.
Canada are coming out in a bit of a zone look here, trying to clog the space.
Mikhail leading Modiano to space. That's the first task, just prevent the stall out. Mikhail popping it up to Modiano once more. Now Dan Hillman. Into Mikhail, similar position to where he took the time out. Oh, the Oyo. Nervous with the edge, taking it away, but Warnock handled, and Mikhail's able to get it out into Dan Hillman for GB's first break.
And you can see the way GB celebrated that point. That is a big break for them. That could change the momentum of this game. Taking advantage this time of the turnover and making no mistakes. Much more clinical here from the GBD line.
Yeah, momentous. It feels. Mikhail here with the Oyo, the outside-in throw down the inside-out channel, but it zips it into Warnock, who catches well because those can be difficult to handle. Flashing it back to Mikhail, and Brissett doesn't really get a look at it. He's turned the other way, and Mikhail sneaks it beyond him. Didn't see a timeout call. I think GB just huddling up between points. Canada, I think, might have called a timeout here, trying to stop from GB building up a head of steam. Canada 10, GB 6 in this open final at London Invite.
Always on the move? You can keep up to date with ULTI.TV on all of our social media channels. Like, follow, subscribe, share us with a friend, or send us a message just to say hey. Thank you for supporting us in our mission to grow Ultimate everywhere.
We are a group of Ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, ULTI.TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
our
our work to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.
Great Britain getting their first break on the board. Canada with a timeout just to stop that head of steam going, trying to take some of the wind out of the British sails. Still though, very much their game to lose from this point. Jacking it long, looking for Auger Samar. Haynes in coverage, not close enough. What a rip.
That is a perfect throw from Galland there. Canada have shown it all day that they are able to execute those deep options perfectly, hitting the receiver in stride, and Haynes doing everything he could on that bid, a lot closer on the coverage there. Get a replay of it here.
Gallant playing with a real swagger. Matched up against his opposite, number 33, Brooking. Tries his best to bid and stop it on the force. But a hammer unleashed long. And Auger Samar just coast to coast for the goal.
And that's exactly how Canada want to respond after being broken for the first point of the game. Able to turn around and execute a very clean offensive hold.
Yeah, 2 assists and a goal now for Marty Galland. I must admit, sometimes I struggle with Canadian pronunciations because there's parts of me that wants to go full French at times and other parts that knows that it doesn't quite work like that.
I think because like you guys cleared, you went back with the desk, you went to that like forest. I don't know, I remember I had like a big slash like that.
Lavoie to pull. GB gonna field from the floor. Mead seeming like a 3-4. I tried to get it over the top there to Cameron, but baited and slapped away by Brinjland Powell. When GB have tried those looks, Canada have stayed patient, whereas Mead thought he saw the opportunity and Canada closed in a flash. Sang to Brinjland Powell, having got the block. Can he force Canada over? Thought he might get in there to Bryson. No, backwards instead. Mike McKenzie. Sang gets Mead on the floor on the force. Timeout called. GB taking that as a win, I think.
GB looking a bit frustrated.
I thought it was 1 timeout per team per half.
It looks like that may be the discussion here now as well. Maybe that's where the frustration was coming from.
You know what, I've got the schedule here so I can double check this actually, because I think this came up earlier. It is 1 per half per team.
Which means that the stall count will get to add 2. You can't call a timeout if you don't have one, meaning that the stall will be able to go +2 here.
Yeah, it's not quite the harshest of USAU rules, or they might have changed that. Tremblay-Yoncas back to Sang. Sang, oh, just about air bouncing it under Abrams. And now the break to Mackenzie will get the job done. Canada accelerating into the distance, 12-6.
Canada there are so happy to move the disc quickly. They don't mind if they change the angle of attack, dishing back, giving going until they're able to open up the break side there for Mackenzie's cut. Very clinical again here from the Canadians.
Yeah, they have came to play, and you wonder if the that friendly match, quote unquote, on Friday night was potentially a bit of a wake-up call for them, that they are so much better than they put out there, and they were determined to prove it in tournament action this weekend. They had a narrow win over the Barbarians this morning, but they are in full flow this afternoon. Again, just utilising a little bit of air bounce there as well to get it past the mark and to sit up for Mackenzie on the score.
Yeah, Canada adjusting well. That is the advantage of getting to play the same team 3 times in a weekend. You get a chance to learn, adjust, adapt to the defense that you're seeing, the offense as well. And right now, Canada have adapted a lot better than this GB side.
Time rapidly ticking away from Great Britain. It feels like it has to be Canada's game now, surely. Even if GB would get the break train rolling, I simply do not think they have enough time at this point. Lovely pull that Abrams feels towards the back of his own end zone. Canada zoning again, and it worked last time, so why not roll it back out once more? Seems like an early transition from TC.
Yeah, Canada transitioning, looking to cause confusion, and that's a big deep shot from McHale.
McHale to Yo, defender on his back. Well, very sporting slap of hands there from Yo. Certainly he dealt with that a lot better than I would.
Yeah, Crew there just getting up a little bit into the back of Yo, trying to make a play over him, but looks like an amicable slap of the hands. Big play there from Ashley Yo. Connor McHale putting that into space in front of him to run onto.
And this is how Yo made his name, stretching it deep, collecting these deep bombs. You see him track it over his head, always in the position. And you feel like Crew does, try to actually pull out of it. Towards the end, he doesn't go full throttle. In that position, though, I don't think you're ever in a position to make a play.
Yeah, it's hard. Yo there, able to seal him out, and almost impossible to go over or around in that situation.
So, again, glad he didn't go full throttle. Still don't like it. I'll be honest. I appreciate that. I generally probably have a lower threshold of physicality than a lot of people do. But anyway, I've said my piece. Yo, for his, to his credit, I think recognised that Crew realised the perilous position he put himself in, and offered the slap of hands as well, very spiritedly. Dan Hillman just trying to rally the troops on the sideline.
GB trying to generate a little bit of energy going into this D point. We've seen the Canadians chanting all game long, and it's amazing what a little bit of fun and energy can bring to a team.
McHale pulls. Can they get the short field turn? Nothing going on downfield, but the Canadian handlers running the dominator between them until things can get connected. Throws right into the poach of butt. That's the risk if you don't have that synergy between your two sets of players. Butt wants to get this one back to Warnock. Into the end zone for Modiano for the break. All set up by a big pull from GB. Pen Canada in deep. Didn't feel like the downfield players for Canada adjusted to that. Still setting up way too deep And that huge underspace, well, it was a big space to hit. Charlie Butt knew that and stepped right in for an easy interception.
Yeah, absolutely, Benji. It looked like Canada got a bit too stretched there, ended up a little bit too deep, and then disconnected from their handlers, who did well to work it through a dominator, but as soon as they tried to throw it upfield, Butt was always looking for that play. A very smart poach block, and GB able to march it in on the door line here, the doorstep, I should say, and another break for the Brits.
Again, 4 points with 8 minutes left is an enormous ask, but well, you get a couple in now, and then the Canadians maybe feel a bit nervy. We know they don't have a timeout to take, as Tim Sang found out to his cost. Mercifully, the store count wasn't at 8 already, otherwise it would have gone even worse. Hall is weighing up the pull here. Both sides generally have pulled very well in this game, which pleases me no end. Someone has banged on about it ad nauseum year after year. Lots of hang time on this one towards the back of the end zone. And in the end, I don't know whether it landed inbounds. It certainly bounced out the back.
Looks like it's been called as a brick.
And yeah, I guess you trust Gallant's judgment there for, okay, I believe this is going to go out the break. If it doesn't and I get it wrong, hold my hands up. I've put us in a real bind, but his judgment was accurate. Brissett back to Gallant. Brissett now to Underhill. Bedard trying to sneak the inside past Rag. Foul called on the force. You can have a look at it again and make your own minds up. Past the bidding, Brooking. Gallant with no force temporarily. Inside to Bedard. Underhill. Weaseling his way past Rag. Auger Samar. Floated, expertly reeled in by Snyder, who loses the hat in the process and seems entirely unfazed. Auger Samar. I think Hall fouled as he came across. The hat has been rescued. Stand down, everyone. Auger Samar. Not seeing a lot of space in the end zone. Still count got to be rising. Does just about find Snyder. Wilson hustling back into position on the mark. Back to Underhill. Surely that break's got to go. Zinged into Auger Samar for 13-8. You could see it coming.
Auger Samar there. Very smart play, made it look like he was clearing out of the set, made it look like he was clearing back into the stack, but he was always checking his shoulder, looking for that opportunity to cut back for what was, in the end, an open side under in the end zone.
Yeah, he knew that he was hot there. And maybe you could just sell the defender that, well, I'm not interested in this one. But the advantage there, all generated from going backwards, because then it gives Underhill that momentum where he's catching it, he's looking forward, he's seeing things develop, so he can get the quick release out of the hand to Auger Samar. 13-8, Canada with the advantage, less than 5 minutes on the clock. It looks hot out there. It's one of the qualities, I say qualities, the quirks of playing on an artificial rubber crumb surface like this is it really does radiate that heat back out at you. Special no shout out to Jur. There was a little bit of a breeze at least that will help provide some cooling aspect to proceedings.
Yeah, absolutely. It can be quite challenging to play on the 3G in these conditions. Like you said, the sun absorbing the heat in the rubber crumb often feels about 10 degrees hotter than it actually is when you play on this kind of surface.
Oh yes. Very happy that we've got a lovely gazebo to provide shade. Abrams has the open swing to Hillman. Wires to take it. McHale now. Hillman lost his footing a little bit on the reset cut. Mum through the centre. Oh my word. Bryson was so close to it. Cartwright. Now McHale. Cartwright's on the floor. Accepted foul. Yeah, I think you can see there Mackenzie just stepping into his path somewhat. Hillman pings that one to the break side for Ford. Ford feels like he's winding up for something. Nice switched off, passed off by the Canadian defenders, but that would of course reset the stall count. Ford and Hillman between themselves. Cartwright opting not to milk it in. Catch it first, get in second. Narrow seam through to Ford. Oh, goes with the offhand, far too casual.
And Benji, just as I was going to credit GB for their patience there on the end zone line, happy to reset it amongst themselves until an option opened up. That one just a bit too casual, as you said, a bit too rushed, and gives Canada another opportunity to break.
The option was there, but what a time to have your execution fail you. Bryson. Plenty of time to make a decision before Mum gets the force on. Turner to Bryson. Pinging it to the end zone. Looking for Ricky McLeod. 14-8. Surely Canada's game. They want to end it with a D-roll as well.
And again, that's another leading shot into the end zone. Not a full field huck, but about 40 yards, 35 yards with a lot of touch into it. And they're doing such a good job of putting that outside in edge on the disc, making it so hard for a defender to make a play. As you see Bryson here, just takes the inside line on Abrams, goes up line, and then that touch flick into space. No edge that can be defended there.
Yeah, Cartwright knew that as long as the throw was on point, it wasn't a huge amount he could do, and that's, yeah, what Bryson delivered. Been very impressed by the play of Malcolm Bryson this weekend. Canada can sense the victory. They'll look to ice it with another break here. Their D-line has been an absolute juggernaut.
Yeah, Canada have come out with all kinds of intensity in this game today, Benji. They say that the team who wants it more is the team who comes away with it, and I have to say the Canadians have looked like they have really wanted this victory today.
See, I hate that, because surely both teams want it, right? But it feels like, yeah, the Canadians, there has been a bit more point to their play, perhaps.
It's all about how you show it.
Yeah. I get you. McHale, Mead underneath. Mead with the deep shot, time over. Yo will catch a score that, I'll be honest, probably doesn't feel that good in the end because it's come too late, time going just before. So Great Britain will finish it with a score, but I believe that should be game over. I wonder if they're going to get the message across.
Some of the Canadian men there were asking for one more point. I'm sure they're quite keen to play. They've come all this way. They'll want to end it with a score of 15 as well.
But if you're going to do that, just play to 15. Go on. Oh, they are going to play game to 15. Well, let's go. Free ultimate, baby. Who doesn't love free Frisbee?
No, you only hope that doesn't come back to bite Canada here.
Well, I must admit there's a bit of me that hope it does come back to bite them, because that'll give the spectators a great show, right? But, again, technically this should be game over for Canada, but it's such an underwhelming way to finish a game.
Yeah, we've seen such good offense from this Canadian side all day today. They've been able to work it through the poaches from GB, work it through the pressure. GB only generating a few blocks really in the match. So I think we can expect to see Canada come out here again with a nice clean hold.
Yeah, it feels like GB's turns haven't necessarily been blocks that often. Of course, there was they did play some really good deep defense from Hall. There was Wilson jumping in the lane. But yeah, not forced enough pressure on Canada at anywhere near a high enough frequency. Offhand to Bedard. Snyder. A riser that Lewis handles well. Galon charging underneath on the far side. Is that going to go to Lewis? It is. There's the end zone shot. It's going to hang in there. A little opportunity for Moriano. Is there? No. Quinn Snyder applies the finishing touch. And Canada are your London Invite champions. 15-9 over Great Britain in the final.
Canada, again, it's that leading pass down the sideline with the outside in edge. It makes it so hard for a defender to make a play. And I have to say, Benji, they have put on an absolute masterclass in throwing today.
Yeah, full credit to Canada. Very deserving winners. I mean, they got off to a hot start from Great Britain, but they didn't just trade it out. You know, they continued to apply pressure, and GB were able to get a couple of breaks late on, but Canada continued to compound the damage. Snyder, hadn't really seen him go deep too much in this game, which is weird because when they two played last night, he was really their finisher, but he's going to get his goal in the end. An exclamation point to finish proceedings.
And for GB now, back to the drawing board a little bit. This is still them preparing for the World Championships. They've got another couple months to go until they'll take the field in Australia. And if you're not winning, you're learning. So it's a great opportunity for them to walk away from it and think about how to adjust going into the World Championships.
Yeah, even if you lose the game, don't lose the lesson. And there will be plenty of lessons that GB can get from this. Of course, here's the game stats for you. 15-9 final score. I mean, GB only got the disc 4 times. They hit on half of those, which is solid. You just need to generate more break chances, which not only did Canada do at a much better rate, they also converted at a better rate as well. And that's why, in the end, it was quite such a convincing scoreline. 7 breaks, 7 turns in total, and 7 clean holds for Canada. The lucky 777s indeed for the Maple Leaf. And they can go back from, this long European sojourn, I think, with a lot of good tape in the tank and a lot of good work under their legs. Must be pretty happy with how this European excursion's gone.
Yeah, I would say so. Definitely a lot of learning put into place. Great opportunity for them to build that chemistry as well, figure out how to play with each other. You know, they have a lot more geography, obviously a much bigger space in Canada to bring those players together from
it's
all the way across the country who don't play together very often. And so I think this is a really good opportunity to really build that chemistry.
Yeah, that is the 3rd edition of the London Invites in the book. A huge thanks to our hosts here at the Grasshoppers Rugby Club. Oh, that was nicely queued up. It's almost like the production crew know what they're doing. They've been wonderful and hospitable as always. A pleasure to come here. A huge thanks to the team at Clapham at the London Invite, who have again made us feel very welcome, and delight to be bringing you the coverage for the 3rd successive campaign. Huge thank you to Becky and the revolving door of commentators that have come through and sat in the co-coms chair with me this weekend. It's been a pleasure to join them all. 15 games in the tank this weekend, plus the game and a half we had, of course, on the Friday evening as just a little extra for you, and all of that is available free for posterity on ULTI.TV. And if that is something that you feel like is worth supporting, and I appreciate that I am not an unbiased observer, but I do feel like it is worth supporting, and I'd appreciate it if you could, put your money where my mouth is, so to speak. Because we are only able to do this, with your support. So whether that's something simple like, the various calls to action, you've seen the ads and you've listened to Chopo long enough, like and subscribe. You can get notified whenever we go live, so you're making sure you're keeping on top of as much free live Ultimate as possible. And yes, of course, you'll have seen the links, patreon.com/ULTI.TV. You can find out how to get involved, and for, you know, a pint of beer a month or whatever your beverage of choice is, right, we can continue bringing as much Ultimates to the people as possible. And we greatly appreciate your support. If everyone who was able just chipped in a little, it doesn't always have to be a lot, even though we wouldn't say no, right? But if everyone chips in a little, then we can continue to not only bring you more Ultimate, but improve the level of coverage of the Ultimate we can bring you as well. And who knows, we might even get a break. Just putting it out there into the ether. If you don't speak it, good things will happen. There is the final score again. On behalf of, I say, our wonderful ULTI.TV crew, Mike Palmer and Felix Charlot, have been long hours this weekend, and they have been fantastic at bringing all the Ultimate to you. For the revolving cast and crew of co-commentators alongside me, Ben Jury signing off here. Final score in this open fight at the London Invite. Canada are your champions with a 15-9 win over Great Britain. And ULTI.TV will see you on the other side. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, Milan. I mean, Ultimate.
ULTI.TV.
Every ocean